You are uncomfortable right now. Not physically, but if I told you to put your phone down, close your eyes, and do nothing for the next 10 minutes, something in you would resist. Not because you are busy, because doing nothing has become one of the most difficult things a modern human can do. We have a word for people who do nothing: lazy. We have a feeling that accompanies it: guilt. And we have built an entire culture around the belief that your value as a person is directly proportional to how much you produce. But here is what no productivity guru will ever tell you. For 300,000 years, doing nothing was not laziness. It was a practice, a discipline, a necessity, a thing your ancestors did with the same intention you bring to work. And the day modern life killed it was the day something broke inside the human mind that we are still trying to name. Let's start with what doing nothing actually is. Not sleep, not distraction, not scrolling through something to fill the silence. True stillness. The state of being present without purpose, without output, without a goal at the other end. Ancient hunter-gatherer communities had this built into every day. After the hunt, after the gathering, after the fire was made and the food was shared, there was time that belonged to no task. People sat, they watched the fire, they stared at the sky. They let their minds move without direction. This was not wasted time. This was the most important time of the day. Neuroscientist Mary Helen Immordino-Yang at the University of Southern California spent years studying what happens in the brain during periods of inward reflection and quiet stillness. What she found was not what anyone expected. The default mode network, the part of the brain that activates during rest, is not resting at all. It is doing some of the most sophisticated work the brain is capable of: consolidating memory, processing emotion, building empathy, constructing identity. The brain uses stillness to answer the questions it cannot address while it is occupied. Who am I? What do I actually feel? What matters to me? What kind of person do I want to be? These are not questions you can answer in motion. They require stillness, and your ancestors had stillness every day, not as a luxury, as a rhythm. The ancient Greeks understood this completely. They had a concept called schole. We translate it today as school, but its original meaning was nothing like education in the modern sense. Schole meant leisure, not entertainment, not relaxation. Purposeful, reflective, unhurried time. Time spent in contemplation, in conversation, in the quiet examination of what it means to be alive. Aristotle argued that schole was not the reward for work. It was the point of work. You worked so that you could have time to think, to reflect, to become more fully human. The work served the stillness, not the other way around. Now look at what we have built. A world where the stillness serves the work, where rest is only permitted in doses calculated to make you more productive, where the moment you stop moving, a voice inside you, trained by years of a culture that monetizes every hour, asks what you should be doing instead. And so you reach for your phone. You turn on something to fill the silence. You find a way to be busy that feels like rest but isn't, because true rest requires the absence of input, and modern life has made the absence of input feel like a malfunction. In 2014, a study published in Science magazine revealed something that should have stopped the world for a moment. Sit alone in a room with nothing to do for 15 minutes. Or receive a mild electric shock. 2/3 of men and 1/4 of women chose the electric shock. They chose physical pain over sitting alone with their own thoughts. This is not a curiosity. This is a crisis. A species that cannot tolerate its own silence is a species that has lost something essential, something that was never supposed to be lost. Blaise Pascal wrote in the 1600s that all of humanity's problems stem from the inability of a person to sit quietly in a room alone. He wrote that before the smartphone, before the television, before the radio. He wrote it watching people in the 17th century invent ways to avoid the silence inside themselves. The restlessness is not new. But the tools for escaping it have never been more effective or more available, and the cost has never been higher. Research from Harvard University found that people spend 47% of their waking hours thinking about something other than what they are doing. Mind wandering, distraction, the constant background hum of a brain that is never fully present anywhere. And that same research found that this state, the unanchored mind, is associated with significantly lower happiness. Not because thinking is bad, but because the mind that never rests, never processes, never integrates, never arrives anywhere. It just keeps moving endlessly, through the noise of a world that needs it to keep moving. Your ancestors sat by the fire and stared into it and felt something you have probably only felt a handful of times in your life, the particular peace of a mind that has nowhere it needs to be. Not the anxious thinking of a mind solving problems, the slow, quiet thinking of a mind simply being alive. That state is not gone. It is still available to you. It has always been available, but it requires something that modern life treats as almost immoral. It requires you to stop, not to optimize your stopping, not to schedule your stillness, not to meditate correctly or breathe a certain way, or follow a protocol designed to make your rest more efficient, just to stop, to sit with the discomfort that comes at first, the guilt, the restlessness, the feeling that you should be doing something, and to stay there long enough for the noise to settle, for the questions to surface, for the part of you that the busy world never gets to reach to finally have a moment to speak. Your brain was not built for constant motion. It was built for rhythm, effort and rest, output and stillness, the fire and the dark on the other side of it. For 300,000 years, that rhythm was simply life. Nobody had to protect it. Nobody had to schedule it. Nobody had to be told that the hours of doing nothing were the hours when the most important things were happening. They just knew. And somewhere, underneath everything modern life has asked you to be, you know it too. You've always known it, in the part of you that slows down when you watch a fire, in the part of you that goes quiet, when you stand somewhere completely still and feel, just for a moment, like you are enough, like you don't need to produce anything to justify your presence here. That feeling is not weakness. That feeling is not laziness. That is 300,000 years of your species reminding you of the one thing that was always true. That being alive was always the point. Not what you did with it, just that you were here, breathing.